about you is American?
I like lifting people up. I like being in part of a culture that lifts people up, not chops people down. You can dream big here, you can think big here, and it sits well with me. And I'm a happier, more positive person as a result of that. Always been really clear about this. I absolutely love this country.
My guest today is, simply put, the greatest manager in the women's game, winner of 16 trophies in a dozen years at Chelsea before arriving May 2024 on our shores to coach our United States women's national team in an hour of need. And she strolled in and oversaw what was, to me, the single greatest act of transformational leadership in American soccer history. 73 days after her first training session, a team won Olympic gold in Paris. So it is a joy to welcome back, to relive her journey and to talk about her vision for the future. The greatest manager born in England, but made in America. It's Emma Hayes.
Hey, Rog, how are you?
I'm so happy to see you. I've been looking forward to this because I think you won 2024, but actually want to start November 2023. You were yet to officially take over. You convened the entire women's player pool at a hotel in Florida. And you played them a hype video featuring top 3 Tracy Chapman track all time, talking about a revolution. And many of these players had just experienced their worst World Cup in American history. As you assess the challenge that lay ahead and Tracy's playing, what was the biggest challenge that you identified?
Well, I don't think it's as simple as just one of them, but what I wanted to create was a new narrative. And when you're building on the shoulder of giants, which you are in this country, I wanted to create a new identity for the team, a new history for the team, new heights for the team, and be aspirational and inspirational all at once in terms of getting everybody to look forward, but building on the back of the learnings from not just that summer, but the history of the program. So for me, that intent was clear from the beginning, that it was about a page turner and utilizing that 6 months to really bring together a group of players that would put us in the best place possible for the Olympics.
Talking about a revolution, is that your top Tracy Chapman song? I have to ask. Or is it just the one that fit the moment?
It could be. I mean, I love that album. It's incredible. But I'd say so. I think it's particularly linked to this team now. It was, I think, so pertinent. It was the first track I played, and then I played another different first track when I started in camp.
Which is what?
Bob Dylan, Times Are Changing.
Oh, times are a-changing. There's a cue in the music. And when you come in and you are trying to create a new future, changes have to be made. Pep Guardiola talks about how the first big decision made often defines a management tenure. Yours was ultimately the decision to not call up Alex Morgan for the Olympics. I mean, so long the face of US soccer. Was part of that to also send a message to Sophia Smith and the rest of what we now know as Triple Espresso, that they now had the space, they now had the understanding, ultimately that it was their moment now?
I think I always look through the lens of what we're trying to achieve, and I always base decisions on not just subjective feeling, but also objectively, what's going to fit best with the game model, what's going to, help us to get closer to where we were. And I do think by only having an 18-player roster, had to think maybe a little bit differently than I would if it was the World Cup. Because that, I mean, and I don't think people always know this, but even the rules in and around how alternates were almost being able to come into the 18, those rule changes were only being really determined once the squad had been named. So initially it was, there's only 18 and 4 alternates if there was a injury that would see a player out of the whole Olympics. But it changed from the time we named the squad to, I think, maybe some point in June, where all of a sudden there was some other different rule changes that made the alternate group an integral part of the 22. So I had to factor in, getting that 18 right and having players that could, fit multiple positions if required. So the decision was taken on that end. And we all know Alex has had an incredible career, had an incredible impact on this program. And of course, no manager enjoys doing those things, but it's not personal. And, I just think about putting together the best squad with the available playing pool.
When you arrived to take the helm of this team, we were at a low form, confidence. I think we'd slipped to 5th in the rankings, which is the lowest spot ever. And you said something really fascinating, Emma, before the tournament. The talk of waltzing to a final in Paris, these are your words, was, quote, disrespectful. You said, I think we have to reframe our focus a little bit and have respect for the rest of the world. It was remarkable. I mean, now that you've, spoiler alert, won gold, can you tell us how much of that was sending a message to your own players? How much of it was an honest evaluation of where the team was at the time? And how much was it you rope-a-doping the other big teams a little bit into thinking we feared them when we didn't?
I've always been a coach that respects opponents. And coming from Europe, I see the work that's going on firsthand at both the domestic league level and international level, to know that teams are well resourced and well structured and have domestic programs that are creating a competitive environment. So I knew that the days of, underdeveloped leagues where very few professional players is something of the past. So I think it is important to bring that to the attention of the public. I also think that coming into a program, which I, of course, know the expectations are, but it is a group that we've been formulating over a very short period of time. So the management of expectations externally is, to take the pressure off the players a little bit. I've never seen a group of soccer players have to endure the level of expectation on the women's side that the US women's national team does. And it's my responsibility to make sure I absorb some of that, if not all of that, for the team publicly, and something I'm more than happy to do. So I think it's a combination of things. I think it's that, and you have to realise is I've been coaching a team for 12 years. I then come in, I'm coaching a new group. I have very limited sessions. I don't really know, how good we're going to be. I know that we have the potential to be that, but, to think through, just I'm working with players I barely know. So I think it was only right to do that, as opposed to it being a diversion tactic publicly.
That pressure that you talk about on the shoulders of the team, the not knowing, the sense of uncertainty that even you had going in. I mean, we saw it all just evolve game to game. And then that 1-0 final victory against Brazil, all of the relief, all of the joy, that speeding poet Mallory Swanson scoring on her 100th appearance. That final whistle blowing, it was an incredibly beautiful moment. You were an Olympic gold medalist. And watching you in that second, there were tears. I know that your father, Sid, had passed away 11 months earlier. We've talked about that. Watching you kiss the American Eagle necklace that your dad, your late father, had given you in that second. Emma, what emotions were running? Can you articulate them through your body at that very second? Because it was a moment that transcended sport.
I always say this to people: when you're in my position, you've always got a camera on you everywhere. It catches every angle of you, and it's not always the most comfortable feeling, because being vulnerable in such a public setting isn't like the most ideal for any of us. But I felt shock like I'd never experienced in coaching a game before. Relief, yes, relief, but that actually wasn't my overriding emotion. It was shock, it was happiness, it was sadness. Like, my biggest fan was not there with me. I think just pride, because I felt so embraced and welcomed as a coach, and my team that had brought with me, we couldn't believe the amount of good faith the players and the public had given us, and it was just like all of them feelings all at once, and then it was just like love. You dream about it all the time, but you don't actually think it's going to happen. You don't spend your life. You go, one day I'd love to be able to coach a team at the Olympics and win a gold medal, but when it actually happens, you're like, is this real? Is this? So I think it's caught in a million different places: dream state, present state, happiness, sadness, all of it. I think I was so overwhelmed with emotion. I think it paralyzed me. And I remember giving the interview to network TV, and I just was so stunned. I found it really difficult to find words out of my mouth, to be honest with you. That interview was really, really tough for me.
I mean, you like call this the greatest achievement in your career, and you have achieved so bloody much. I mean, you transformed women's football in England with Chelsea. We've talked about that story. You've won the Ballon d'Or. What was it about this?
I think it's how America has made me feel. Like growing up as an adult in my 20s in America, whether I was traveling all over the country, didn't matter whether I was up and down the Long Island Expressway, or I was up 95 going to a tournament in Philadelphia, or jumping on a plane to Richmond, Virginia, to the Disney Classics in the winter. Like, I have traveled the breadth and depth of the US as a coach at various different levels, and I developed so many of my big friendships here, my mentorships, so much networking. I felt really embraced and loved, and I didn't realize till I came back that taking the job was one thing. When the job started, I very quickly was like, oh my God, I feel so at home. This is my place. This is where I feel most myself. And it felt so natural, so winning, with a country that felt like my own in many ways. It shaped me. It's such a profound feeling for me, and something I thought about ever since that day I watched the Woosa Championship final in 2001, when I sat on the pitch and I thought, do you think one day I might coach the national team to a gold medal or a World Cup? Yeah, I do. So I'm going to get at it. So it was a 25-year dream, to be honest with you.
I believe you. I mean, I don't have any tattoos, Emma Hayes. But if I did, I'd get your quote post-game. I love America. It made me.
Yeah.
I'd get that tattooed on my person. We were both born in England. And as you're articulating made in America, I have a real sense of the American side of my identity. And I'm so unbelievably grateful for it. I never take it for granted. But you, as you say, you came into Long Island, New York, a backpack full of clothes, about $1,000 to your name.
A lot of money for me back then.
Yeah, still a lot of money for me now. You've scrapped your way up through the ranks, through the college, the amateur, the nascent pro leagues, boom and bust, and now you've come back full circle. Emma, can you put into words, what about you is American?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I think my openness, I like lifting people up. I like being in part of a culture that lifts people up, not chops people down, that embraces me as a woman in sport. I feel an equal. I feel valued. I feel like my voice matters here, in a way that it's not just soundbite or something. I don't know. I'm really expressive. I feel like I can do that without judgment, without appraisal, I can utilize, I don't know, some of my skills, especially my emotional intelligence, in a way that connects and resonates, and it's not too much. So, I think, but that whole notion of you can achieve anything, you can earn it. You earn it here. If that's where you want to go, whatever that looks like, work your way towards it in this sense of meritocracy. And you can dream big here, you can think big here, and no one's there to sort of, chop you down on it. And I really, it sits well with me, and I'm a happier, more positive person as a result of that. I like to be around those things, and it's not too much for me. I've always been really clear about this. I absolutely love this country.
You and me both, Emma Hayes, and I love you being in it and leading this team. We have this year the She Believes tournament upcoming in February. But really, you're in the process of building towards a 2027 strategy. That 2027 World Cup kicks off in 889 days as we chat. And I'm sure you've got a roadmap for that period with the ultimate goal, a fifth World Cup trophy. How do you break down the steps ahead for this program? How do you think about it?
Well, how do you eat an elephant, Roger? One bite at a time. So when it comes to figuring out what it is we need to do, it starts with the WNT strategy, and our mission is, more than anything, to make sure that we see everything through a female lens, and that it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's the provision for players at WNT, YNT, to all the support mechanisms in and around our game, that I want to be able to turn the male biases that have so influenced and shaped our sport, and influence in a way that I think everybody's ready for. But that means a lot of work, because we're going to have to, work collaboratively, from coach education to what we do on the performance side of things, to make sure we provide the very best for our women in a way that I don't think has ever been done before. But on top of which, I want to architect a female blueprint that can impact the global game. And of course, we want our teams to compete and win. But this is, I would say, the most exciting project that we're about to undertake, that feels like, my life's work getting to this place. And I am so excited for the launch of the strategy and some of the resources that we will develop and build out, that I hope impact coaching in this country, so that we keep our girls playing, we don't lose them out of the sport, and that everything from puberty to menopause is factored into what we do in our game of football, and the recognition of everything from how our brains are different, to our physiology is different, to the way we like to interact, to how we like to run our camps, to how to teach us, and all of these things. That this is the most exciting project I think I've ever been involved with.
Emma, I would like to do a whole series just on that architecture that you're talking about, because that is, we will come back and we will talk more about that. There is so much to unpack. But I want to know, you've led this 73-day journey from uncertainty. It was uncertain, to gold. We won. I do need to ask you, how good are we? And in what ways does this squad still have to develop?
I think the important thing I always say is that you're only as good as your next game. So as far as I'm concerned, we don't know the answer to that. But what we do know is that we're putting in place the foundation to develop many players. We can talk about the players that are outside, but we've got the players that are coming in from the futures to the WNT, we'll have 49 players here that will provide a deeper playing pool that will ultimately be the foundational group that will take us through 27 and 28. But it's bigger than that, as far as I'm concerned, whether it's, creating systems and architecture, as you call it, around the team that will just be there beyond my tenure. Like, for me, the foundational piece is important because I think winning for the US has always been part of the DNA, but we have to be more intentional about it. Women's football is so organised globally, and the support mechanisms that are in place in England and Germany and Spain are so advanced in and around the player that we have to come together in a much different way to prioritise the technical, the tactical a level that I think is going to be joined up in a way that I know everybody in the country is always, and because I've been in the ecosystem for so long, I know what people always complained about. So for me, it's actually, fixing those things, but more importantly, like, let's build something transformational. Like, I'm on this earth once, and I'm in my dream scenario. So let's go big. Or, as you say, go home.
The headline of this interview is Emma Hayes does not believe in reincarnation. But we'll deal with that on our other show about today in theology and philosophy. What's your message to US women's national team fans about where we are in that transformational journey right now and what they should expect to come?
Well, my big message is we need you. And we need you to come out and support us. And we need you to come to games. And we need to create the conditions to prepare us for the best available tournaments. So I want to ensure we sell out everywhere we go, but also like to do it in a way that, you're on the journey with us. That really matters to us. I want to make sure we continue to provide a team that you're proud of, but one that not only you see yourself in. I value diversity, and I want us to have the most diverse group of women running through our program, and that no matter who you're coming to watch, these are role models that you see yourself in and that you can be a part of. And that this is our time. This is our time as women. And, let's continue to support a team that I know means so much to you all. So I look forward to seeing you.
Emma, I have to ask you, your last year at Chelsea, this is beautiful. It's like screenwriting. It overlapped with the other US national team head coach, the incredible Mauricio Pochettino. You, of course, know him so well. You're a lifelong Tottenham fan. You're a season ticket holder. What's your working relationship like together? How often do you talk? Do you talk coaching? Do you talk about each other's challenges? Or is it just Tottenham chat?
I know we've had a few of those. We've had a few Tottenham chats, a few Chelsea chats. We talk about the US a lot. We talk about the possibilities in this country. That's one of the things we talk about like a lot. How, how it is. Sometimes people don't see the great things about themselves, and sometimes it takes someone else to point it out for them. For him and I, we share this love of American sports, American culture, and the possibilities. And we had this really cool conversation around the opening game of the World Cup when we were in, this is in Nike, and we talked about like how cool would it be when the guys come out, and there'll be a sea of red, white, and blue around the stadium, a home game, coming out to an opening game of the World Cup, like, and how powerful that's going to feel. Like, we're both really emotional people. So it's the emotive side we talk about a lot. He also talks about his passion for the women's game. Like, he started his career working for Espanyol and the lessons he's learned from working in the women's game. And we talk passionately about this team and how our team, the women's national team, is serving as a huge inspiration to him, his coaches, and the men's national team, and how he feels that this could be, an influence for him. We talk about barbecues. You
Always
know,
barbecues.
our houses in London are not far apart from each other, and
He's got great barbecue game.
listen, when we were in Tottenham with the team in November, the lodge we were staying in, they took me around on the car and the facility, and they said this is the dedicated barbecue area that Poch designed and implemented, and Tottenham have one as a result of it, which I think is absolutely amazing.
When you're with that man, you do realise there's levels to the barbecue game, and he does have a black belt in barbecue. Emma, last question for you. You just won the Ballon d'Or. You unquestionably are one of the greatest coaches ever. Obviously, your story isn't over. But when you look back at that journey, that 73-day journey that we've all just watched you live through, what's the most important life lesson that you learned about yourself?
Surround yourself with people that are better than you. That's so essential. The team I have around me off the field are world leading. I've got some unbelievable people that make me look really good. And on the field, I have a group of women that not only playing for their country means the absolute most, but I've learned that put together great teams of people and then you can have great possibilities. And I feel very fortunate to work with very selfless human beings on the pitch and off the pitch. I work with a team of people that are driving the standards around me that, I don't know, humble me every day. And most importantly, make me feel so supported. These are my colleagues, but also my friends. So that's my life lesson for today. I love my people.
God bless. Emma Hayes, come gather round people wherever you roam and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept that soon you'll be drenched to the bone, for the times they are a-changing. To you, to the change you're trying to create, to the change that you're being. Oh, God bless.
Thanks, Rog. Appreciate it.
Courage.